All right, and we already have a few people on. Cool. Welcome everybody to our Level Up learning webinars here that we have scheduled for the next couple weeks. This is our first one, which is going to be focused all on streaming 101. We send out some feedback surveys every season, and one of the most popular answers that we get is, I need help with streaming. I want to figure out how to stream our matches. I want to figure out how to stream multiple matches. What equipment do I need? How, Twitch versus YouTube Live versus something else. Which is the way to go? So we're hopefully going to answer all those questions today. Joining us today, I have my partner in crime, Maggie Helmers, the assistant director of esports. And then from the Heartland High School esports program, we have coaches Jason Watkins and Cameron Montney, who, if you follow these guys on X or Twitter or along in Discord, doing just such an awesome job of telling their story, promoting their program through kind of highlighting matches of the week coming up, sending out newsletters to parents and players, and of course, streaming matches, which is why we wanted to reach out to them. And they were super happy to give up some time and help put together kind of this presentation on how to get you guys all started. So, Jason and Cameron, thank you so much for helping out today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Let's see. We've got a few people in here already. I think we've got a few more coming on. We'll give them another minute and then we'll get started. This is recorded. I did have quite a few people who said they couldn't participate. They had a bunch of scrimmages set up already or whatnot. Or I know a lot of schools are actually off today. So there's no school today for certain places. So we are recording this, and I will email this out and post in Discord and other places. But excited to learn about streaming. I myself, we set up a Twitch channel a couple years ago to just showcase our championship matches. And since watching what Heartland's been doing and some people figuring out how to do some things on YouTube Live, I'm more of a YouTube person anyways, with some other things I post and videos I do. So I'm excited to learn about that because I think we're going to try and make the switch here at MHSEL anyways. You'll see that Jason and Cameron are both in the same room, so I think they're going to kind of bounce back and forth with talking and muting and things. And then really Maggie and myself are going to kind of get out of the way. We're going to monitor the chat. We're going to check out the Q&A. So this is a Zoom webinar, so I know we can't see the other people that are on the call. We can potentially let you raise your hand and we can unmute you if it's easier to just ask the question versus kind of type it all out. So I don't think Coach Jason or Coach Cameron are shy away from having people field questions at all. So, we're here for the next little bit. And yeah, I'm excited to learn about streaming. So, coaches, whenever you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and start off. So why do we stream? We decided to start streaming because we really wanted to get parents and family members involved. In basketball, baseball, football, whatever, we've really wanted to adapt the ability to have your family members watch you play. Because typically when you're playing video games, you're sitting down in your basement or whatever, playing by yourself. Here, we really wanted to elevate the idea that esports is more than just playing video games. It's the competitive aspect of being able to be around friends and play against other schools at a competitive level. And your parents and family members should be able to come and watch you play. It's harder for us to be able to have them come in person. We don't have a stadium. We don't have an arena. Online is our arena. It's our stadium. So we try to stream so that other people can watch us. We don't have a broadcasting crew regularly yet. That's something that we are working with. But this shows you guys that you can have any level of starting point to stream your program. It really doesn't take a whole lot to just get everybody started. And if at least you can get something out there, it's better than nothing. It's been really cool to watch. We've now have several parents throughout the year that will watch our streams and they'll send it to grandparents out in California or wherever. So it's been pretty cool to watch that be able to happen. what I'm going to say is we found that Twitch had some controversial things that happened last year as far as schools. So we were actually asked to not use Twitch as much. So we decided to use YouTube. That really pushed that. And we find that YouTube's actually a little bit easier to work with than any of the other programs out there. So let's just jump right in. I'll show you what it looks like when you get there. We'll set up an account. Share my screen here. So this is what the dashboard looks like for YouTube. What you're going to need to do first is you're going to need to create a YouTube account. If you haven't created one already, what you would just do is go to YouTube. I need to switch to an account that doesn't have one, but let's see. Mine doesn't have one. So if you go up here to create, it's going to ask you at that point, it's hard to replicate because I already have an account, but instead of going live, it's going to ask you to create an account. You'll just click activate. There is a 24-hour window here. Let's see if it shows me that. Once you get to this page, there's a little thing that says you only have 24 hours to before you can start streaming. So you'll want to make sure that you do this about a day or so before you actually start streaming. I just really wanted to show you guys that so you guys don't end up game day deciding to do this and then not being able to stream. That happened to us the first time. If I go back to my Heartland Esports one, it's going to seem weird because when you're going to schedule a match or schedule a stream, you're going to come up here and it's going to say create. And you're probably thinking, I don't want to create a video yet. I want to stream. And I don't want to go live right now. I want to schedule one in the future. Well, if you click go live, you have the option to start streaming up here. You have the option to use your webcam, or you have the option to manage. And here is where I can add more streams. You can create a new one, and we'll just call this one MHSEL test stream. And then you have a bunch of settings that you can come and mess with. You're going to not want to get overwhelmed here. It is okay. You can't really go wrong here. But a few things that you'll want to make sure that you optimize with is just you want to put a title in there and it's required. Sometimes if you want to put gaming, you can put what game you're putting here. If you want, let's say Rocket League, right? It's going to automatically populate with a bunch of games that it knows already exists. Just click Rocket League. You can put a thumbnail if you want. You don't have to. It's automatically going to put whatever you have as your picture for YouTube. And then you can also, if you'd like to be organized, we try to be a little more organized. We're tech people down here. So we find ourselves to be a little more anal about things. But what we did is we created one for the 2024 esports season. You don't have to. You do want to select, no, it's not made for kids. And the reason is, if you read the fine print, basically, if you say, yes, it's made for kids, it opens yourself up for you might be thinking, yeah, this is a game for all kids, right? But if somebody were to, in the middle of a game, drop an F-bomb or say something, or in some of the games that we have, they're not exactly kid-friendly, even though like 13 up they are, but below that, they're not. It opens up for the ability for you to have a legal strike on your account and you would be banned from YouTube. You don't want that. So say, no, it's not made for kids, but you don't want to restrict to viewers over 18. So say, no, I don't want to restrict my viewers. Here's where you can put tags. I've never found that they actually do anything, but I just throw them in there anyway. So just throw them in there. And then Creative Commons attribution. You want to make sure that you have for your licenses the Creative Commons, because the standard YouTube license won't allow you to play any music that you would like to on stream. As long as you aren't monetizing your account, you can use whatever music you want to on stream. That's a common misconception that because there's so many streamers that are for profit that you can't use music, and then you have to make sure you have DMCA approved music or whatever. But if you have the Creative Commons attribution license and you are not monetizing your channel, then you can use whatever popular music is out now. So I always have comments turned on. Some districts might not have the same policies, so you might have to turn your stuff off. I don't know about your school district, but ours is okay with that. So we have comments turned on, and then you can hit next, and then you just kind of next your way to success here. But you can see the live chat here. That is showing the live chat throughout the stream. You don't necessarily need to worry about that. Hit next. And then here's where you got to make sure. You got to make sure that it's public. If you select it as unlisted, then anybody who has the link can view the video, but it's not listed on YouTube, so people aren't going to get it as a suggestion. If you go private, then only people that you share it with specifically, like you have to send it to their email. This way, anybody who has the link, so if you share it to somebody, and then they share it to somebody, and then they share it to somebody, they can all view it. If this person, if I send it to Ryan, only Ryan can view it. You want to make sure it's public. Let's say we start at 4. That's when all of our games have been starting. So we just say our schedule starts at 4.
So Cameron, so right now you would be doing these exact same steps if, so like right now you set it for 4. So this is like day of, you're getting your stream ready, right? So we're not going live instantaneously.
You can.
We can,
Nope.
as of right
You
now.
can, but as of right now, we're just scheduling a stream.
And I will point out, like, I'm a YouTube person. I've uploaded hundreds of YouTube videos. I've never done this with the live. That process is almost identical to just uploading any old video after the fact. Like what I'm going to do with this webinar, right? When we're done, I'm going to clean the video up. I'm going to add it to our YouTube channel. And that basically all those steps are almost identical to what I will normally be doing.
And I know it's a lot of information to throw, and I'm going to try to not be too convoluted with it, but yeah, it really is as simple as that. You just follow the prompts through there. It gets more tricky as we go, though. So once if you want to stream multiple games at a time, let's go ahead and create another one, and I'll be quicker this time. So we're just going to say test stream 2. And you'll actually see after this one gets made, let's see. So when we're looking in the test stream right now, if you look at stream keys, what we're going to do is we're going to create another one, because what you need to have is if you have both of them using the default, then they're going to overlap. They're going to be trying to stream at the same time to the same place. So you need to have 2 different stream keys. So we have one for all of our different teams that we have. So it's really easy to make one. You just go here and say create new stream key. And we'll call this MHSEL test number 1. Say create. And now we've got this new stream key. And then when we come over here to stream number 2, we'll do the same thing. All right. So now we've got 2 streams that are scheduled to be simultaneously streamed. And you can have as many as you want. I mean, really is just as much as you want to make life difficult on yourself. But however much chaos you want to have, you can have it. We typically stream, we try to limit ourselves because there's 2 coaches. We try to limit to 2 because then we can easily keep that in front of us. But hey, if you have students that want to do this, you can stream all your matches in one day. It's up to you. But next thing that we've got to do is we've got to go into OBS. If you're not using OBS, there's other options. There's Streamlabs. There's many other options after that too. But we prefer OBS. We found that it's a lot more malleable. There's a lot more that you can do with it. Streamlabs is OBS, but with other changes that this company has already made. So it's a lot more locked down. You don't have as much freedom, I felt. Which when you go to start using other tools, we'll go into that a little bit more later. It becomes a lot more difficult with Streamlabs than it does with OBS. And I don't think you can see my screen yet, so I got to stream.
While you're pulling that up, and maybe even Jason might be able to holler from across the room. So in terms of running OBS, any suggested equipment? I mean, I'm a MacBook person, so I know sometimes over the years that's been a challenge some years ago to get that to operate, or certain ones to operate. Is there a recommended, does that matter much anymore in terms of equipment for OBS or Streamlab or whatever?
So it's same room. Hold on. Maybe good.
Because Cameron's speakers are on private, that's why, yeah.
That better?
There we go.
Okay, there we go. So with Mac, because we don't have a whole lot of Macs, I know that you can run OBS on a Mac. We've run it on laptops. We've run it on, just regular school desktops that we've had, any Dell or HP that we had Frankenstein together because of who we are. We're able to build whatever. It doesn't require a whole lot. One of the main reasons that we like OBS is that we found a YouTube video that Coach Cam figured out how to make OBS portable. So we actually use ours on little flash drives. And you can make it into a portable mode. And then I can literally just stick it into any computer or any laptop or wherever we're sitting. And then I'm able to just plug in a capture card for a switch. And then I'm able to pull everything up. That one took a lot. And trying to get that to work correctly was probably a solid 2 or 3 months. So, but I mean, we had no idea off the get-go. Let's YouTube this and figure out how to do that. So it will work. And I think that portable mode will work in Mac too.
Oh yeah, it'll work on anything.
So as long as you have a plug to be able to plug it into your laptop or your iMac, then it should be able to work. And that's one of the reasons, because it's so malleable with OBS, that's why we like this one. We're able to kind of fit in a lot of our stream tools and everything else all the time. So
the basics for
yeah, go ahead.
The basics though of what you would need is you need any type of computer is fine for the streaming part. You then need a capture card if you're going to be using a Switch, a Nintendo Switch. We also have this device, I'll pull it up. It's called a Black Magic. And we use that mainly for
I dropped a link into the OBS website.
Did you?
Yeah.
This guy right here. What's happening on my screen? Yep. So it's this right here.
Hey, I have one of
This
those.
right there. So what's nice about this is if we can go over here to the back, we use this for Splatoon. We find that that's the best that we've used for that. We also have been starting to use a capture card as well with spectator mode, but it's not great. It's not as either one works, but this is what we originally started using. Where
So
you've got
essentially the feed from the device, right? Like a Switch or whatever, if that case it's a console, right? Feeds into this and all those different ports, and then that goes to the computer that's running OBS.
Yep, and if you use this either way with whatever device, you have to use a well, with this device you have to use a splitter as well,
Yeah.
an HDMI splitter. What we got a question here? For 2 Switch consoles, do we need 2 capture cards, but only Mini Pro Switcher? For 2 Switch consoles, you do need 2 capture cards. If you wanted to get a Mini Pro Switcher, you just would need the Pro Switcher, and you would need the HDMI splitters, which the HDMI splitters are cheaper than the capture cards typically. That was why we originally went with that. It was just a little bit cheaper.
Now, technically, can I ask a question? So Rocket League, though, because there is a spectator mode on that, we don't have to run anything through this. That can just go straight to OBS, right?
And that was the original thought, because in the previous iterations, and we have used this before as well for Rocket League. I used to do stuff for leagues where they didn't let you have spectator even in Rocket League. So this is how you would go ahead and do it that way. You would plug the computers into those and then go that way. So that was the original thought with that, and we got that working, and that works really well. That's one option. You've also got your capture card. There's lots of different ways to do what we're doing, but yeah, that's what we recommend. You have to have some way of getting it from the device that you are working on into OBS. And this is what our OBS screen looks like by default. Do you actually want to stream that? That makes my back better. Maybe. Yeah.
And
Have
real
you-
quick, Cameron, and you mentioned
Yeah.
splitter because the feed coming out of the Switch has to go simultaneously to both the Switch and the monitor the kid's going to be watching from. So it's not we're not a delay, right? So hence,
Because you don't want to delay.
because the feed coming out goes to the switcher, which is eventually going to go to OBS, but it needs to go out to whatever they're viewing their game on it, right? So hence why a splitter, excuse me. Hence why we need a splitter
Yep.
and to send it to the monitor and the video feed.
The capture cards typically have a built-in splitter, right?
Okay.
It's capturing the device. Here, Jason just shared one that it's capturing what's coming from the Switch, the Nintendo Switch, and then it steals part of it and goes into the OBS system. Are you sharing your screen?
So, can everybody hear me from over there? I think should be good.
Yeah, I think so. I think you talk loud enough. We're good.
All right. So, like what Cam was talking about is we have all of our stuff, and like this would be our scoreboard, and this right here is I actually have our Switch already connected up to it. What's nice about the capture cards too is you're basically using HDMI to go into the capture card to your monitor, and then your capture card to your Switch. And then what plugs into your computer, where I get this feed of the Smash itself, is just by a USB cable. So if you just have a USB spot, if you don't have HDMI, you're able to just have that connected to the monitor and switch itself, and then you just USB into the front. That's why I held up the one. It's just kind of like this. It's just two plugs in the front. That's just HDMI in and out, and then it's just connected with a USB cable to your computer. So, and then when we go through everything, this is how ours would normally be set up. Like right through here, I just renamed it because of course it's on a different computer, so it always wants me to get a different number. It just, for some reason, OBS kind of does that. It's just OBS being OBS, I think.
So do you want to show them how to add a?
Yeah, so like right through here on here, like my left-hand side, we just have our scoreboard. That's where it's feeding the Smash. And then this capture 4 right here is where it's actually getting the feed from the Switch itself. So how I would do that is down here at the bottom, you have your little plus sign, and I'm going to go to a video capture device, and then that's where you have to name it. So like, right now, if I were to do capture 5, and then just clicking OK, it wants to know what it wants me to capture. This is just a drop-down menu, and then it's a USB video. And then it should be able to pull up, but of course it's probably not because it's already doing capture 4.
Yeah, so if you just delete your existing.
So if I delete that one, hold on. I'm just going to delete that whole thing. I'm going to redo that. This one again. So video capture device, and then I'm using the USB video, and it automatically pops up because your computer should know, and then OBS knows that if it's looking for a USB video, it should only have that one option to come in there. And then all of this should be okay, right? We don't change any of that.
Except for if you want audio to come through the device as well, you need to then go to audio output mode and make sure that it says custom. If you go below that, use custom audio device, and then scroll down, and then make sure that it says USB audio. Because your audio is coming from the USB, which is coming from the splitter or the capture card. So you've got to make sure that says USB. So if you say okay, now you'll also get visual and sound.
So, and then this is where some of your ordering kind of matters, because if you look, you can see I have video capture device and then my game scoreboard. That's kind of getting advanced, but I'll show it just because. If you drag that right below the game scoreboard, how it pops up and has something else that we add in. You're able to see my bar.
Yeah, we can see all of that.
So like this is our ultimate stream tool that we use, and that's what pops up right here with like our scores and everything like that. That's something that we can show and add on. You guys can always message.
We'll post links. We'll post links to all the different tools that we use as well. There's videos on how to install them. You may need your tech department to install some of the tools for you, depending on the district you're in. Fortunately for Heartland, we are the tech department, so we're able.
We should have started with that when we say this is all possible, right? Yeah. Hey, I do want to say, so obviously the most basic level to help people just get started is simply really like connect your device to the computer with the free OBS software installed, right? We're setting up YouTube Live. We're going to have them talk. You're going to finish out that process, right? Showing them how to get OBS to go there. But like you can see all the advanced stuff that once you get the basics down with, because we see them all the time, the custom, the scoreboard portion or different overlay assets, I think is the correct terminology, right? Of different graphics or your school logo as a watermark that's going to remain embedded on the video the entire time, or a subscribe button, or other different little intros. We've talked, I know some people are, as they're finding ways to try and fund their programs, and they're adding local business logos to their jerseys. Another, hey, every match we stream, we'll throw your business logo up on the corner.
Yep.
This match is brought to you by so and so dealership, right? Or what? Like, there's a lot of different ways if you kind of start thinking a little more advanced in terms of how you can really customize the presentation. Obviously, like you said, probably more advanced than we need to cover today, but Jason and Cameron have the links, and I'm sure the resources will be able to share some of that with you down the road.
For sure. So the very basic we want to get in with is because we talked about, we showed how to do the scheduling of the streams. We have our test stream, and we have our test stream number 2. So the next step is to go into OBS Studio, and it is Jason, if you would just go up to File and go to Settings. The next step we need to do is we need to go into our settings of OBS and go to Stream. And now we're connected to it right now, but Jason, if you just go ahead and disconnect real quick. What you're going to do is you have a couple options. And the reason why we're using YouTube and why we recommend using a YouTube account, which is a Gmail, so if you create some kind of a Gmail account, is because this little box here that says connect account recommended, it is recommended for a reason. It is the most simplest way to do it. If you click that, it's going to be a lot easier for you. The other way is you can do by stream key. And so that thing that I was showing you that you had to create, the little test number 2 and test number 1 stream keys, you can do that, but it's just not as free-flowing as this. So if you just go ahead and click on our Esports one, and we auto sign in. Well, it sometimes is.
It's really not. I can actually remember the password.
It does help. All right, and then yeah, we want to let YouTube know everything, so we'll just go and do that. All right, so now we're connected, and if we hit apply and okay, and now we've got these little boxes that we can play with. We have the chat box that once we're streaming, you'll see that go, and then you have to sign in again. It's redundant, but you have to do it again. And this will allow you to be signed into the YouTube Live control panel. And from this control panel is where you control the stream itself. And it'll be different on every, it'll allow you to control multiple at once if you have a different computer for each stream that you're doing. So these little dots right here, the top, we call it the snowman icon in the tech world, the snowman icon. And then if you look at select stream, we're going to have 2 different streams that we have that are on our schedule. So let's go ahead and click MHSEL test stream 1. So now at this point, it says there's no data being pulled through it because we're not streaming yet. So Jason, if you were to go ahead and start streaming and then manage broadcast, it's going to ask you to select a broadcast. You can either create a new one right here, or you can select one that's already existing. We're going to want to do that. So we're going to go to our MHSTL test stream and select that. And then we're going to select our broadcast and start streaming.
So in theory, it sounds like we started with YouTube, which I think that makes sense, probably the way you suggested it. In theory, you could, it sounds like, kind of get started from OBS and then set up your stream and your stream key. Although I do like the way you presented it first. Like, if you take the time to set it up in YouTube, all you have to do is make sure your OBS is connected, and then you just got to click which one you want to actually start streaming.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of done the hard work already.
It's difficult to present with only 2. I mean, we could have probably, what we typically do is on Mondays, since Mondays aren't game days, Jason and I will sit down here and we'll schedule all of our games for the week. So that way it's all in there and we know what we're going to be streaming, and it's just easier just to click those icons. That's why we usually start with YouTube. But yeah, you're totally right. You could just go into OBS and start your stream that way and it'd be fine. When you're getting into the point of doing multiples at a time is when it's really important, for at least your sanity, to go into YouTube and schedule them out ahead of time. So that way you just have to select the ones, because it's automatically going to pick that stream key based on the one that you're selecting.
And
If you, yeah, go ahead.
I was just say, I actually went, I looked up Heartland Esports on YouTube and I found the stream. It still has a countdown because I think we set it where it won't actually show live to a user until 4 o'clock, right? So even though
Right.
Jason hit start streaming, the users won't see it until 4
Well,
o'clock. But
you should be able to now that we've gone live officially. Yep, if he clicks go live down here in the bottom right, we didn't actually go live yet, but now it'll let you in.
all right, so he was streaming, but he wasn't live yet.
Right.
So that's like another extra control when you do it that way. So that way you know that your broadcast is supposed to start at 4 o'clock. And it will start streaming at 4 o'clock. But let's say you're doing practice matches and you want to make sure everything is
Test everything.
good,
Cool.
then it won't play your practice matches, it won't play your practice mics or anything like that. So.
Right.
So if people go to that link right now, obviously if they're watching the recording, this won't be the case, but anybody who's on here live with us, we can see exactly the MHSEL versus Heartland, the screen that we see on the right side of what Jason has right now. We can see that live.
Right.
Pretty cool.
We do have a question in the Q&A. Would you recommend having students run things on OBS, or would that generally be too technical for a lot of them? A few students mentioned having an interest in commenting and running a stream.
I would say a lot of your students might actually already be streaming at home. I would just ask them if they are interested. They might know. We've had some of our students teach us these things, so you might be surprised to find out how much they actually know.
Okay.
When we first got started up, it was actually going to be Streamlabs, because we had a couple students that were like, "Oh, Streamlabs is awesome. Let's do this." And I think we actually struggled to figure that out more than what they did.
They were doing fine.
They were doing absolutely fine, but we were like, "Hey, I can't break this the way that I want it to be." So then we went with OBS. So,
And we got hit with a lot of paywalls, so that's why we decided to go away from Streamlabs.
but definitely, I definitely think randomly I'll have kids sit down and want me to teach them the ultimate stream tool. Plenty of times they're helping me find the characters quicker, so I know that they use it at home. The only thing is when you start getting into casting and everything like that, making sure that you have that space so that way it doesn't pick everything up, and then knowing that they're quick enough when your inappropriateness might try to kick in or anything like that. So that's where it gets a little rough.
In theory, if people are thinking next level, all right, we've got the stream, we've got the video feed of the game, we're broadcasting that's great. Maybe we're playing around with some overlay assets to track the score, have our school logo on some places. So the next would be if they're going to either comment with a microphone or some sort of audio source, and or they want to be on screen as a caster in a different space, but those are additional feeds from a camera or some sort of other capturing device that's going to have to run into OBS. So probably through an extra spot on your Blackmagic switcher box, right? Or some other capture card or whatever it might be.
Usually those cameras come with adapters to USB, so it'd be another USB input on your computer. Yep.
Okay. I guess you would think the only reason maybe you'd go through a switcher would be if you were getting really crazy with like angles and you want to switch from camera 1 to camera 2 and crazy stuff, right? Otherwise,
you could do that, yeah.
Just USB from a camera, but that's a good point. You can just USB from the video camera they're using. But in theory, in OBS, you can select where those scenes would then be displayed in Go. right? Like in between matches, you're going to probably switch to the casters, maybe full screen, right? Talking about them that's the only scene you see. And then it minimizes them to a corner when the next match starts and
For sure. Yeah.
playing from there. Okay. Cool. Um, you talked about equipment a little bit. We kind of talked about the benefits of YouTube Live and why it's worked for you, why OBS has worked for Heartland. I did have a question about like, because it looks like the way it was set up right now, you are allowing chatting to occur during the matches being streamed. Can you talk a little bit maybe about the pros and cons of enabling the chat feature? Because I know from having things on Twitch, I've seen that go pretty south pretty fast. And just maybe talk about why you would want to turn it on and then maybe some reasons why you would want to consider not having the chat on.
So we did have, we had with Twitch. We haven't had that yet with YouTube, right? We've had that with Twitch where we had some issues where certain emojis were being put all over the screen and things like that. Lots of things like that happened, but we haven't had that yet with YouTube. I guess maybe that's just our audience is primarily parents, so maybe that's why we're not seeing that issue. I would say though, either way, we always have a student monitoring the chat. We're also moderating as well, but we're also doing a million other things, so it gets to be crazy. So have a student moderate the chat and pick a student that you trust, because some of them might just think it's funny, where one that's more mature and understands that you can't have some of these things on stream would help you out. So
one of the best things about OBS was those docs that I kind of just glossed over and I put on the left and right hand side of my screen there for a while. On the chat, when you sign into the chat,
yeah, if you want to share your screen again,
see everybody.
I'll go to your stream and I'll make a comment.
We have one already. So when you're looking at stuff and you see this chat on that right hand side, something that we've done and that I've done is, like Coach Cam said, having that trustworthy student to be able to moderate. So if I'm doing stuff, I'm working with another student, we're transitioning, we're watching the match, and I look over and I see on this right hand side something that's not good, then I can have them jump in and delete that. But I believe
No, you forgot the S.
schools,
Not just one.
Yeah, I see Coach Strager from Bloomfield Hills commented on the video.
He did. Yep.
Webinar, all right.
We do have another question in the Q&A from Coach Strager from Bloomfield as well, also about can casters do long distance without a direct feed cable? They have a green room across the school that would be ideally used if it's possible to do so.
So that's tough without knowing your specific situation, but yes, technically, from a technical standpoint, it's possible. I don't know what your network capabilities are. There's a few different ways that you could do that. You could have them spectate the match from, like for Rocket League, for example, right? You could load Rocket League on a computer that's over there and do it that way. I don't know exactly what technical abilities you have at your school. We also have the very similar situation. We have our broadcasting, our like student news, that's our TV studio that's on the opposite side of the school. We haven't yet explored that ability to stream over from that way. That is an idea that we have in the future, but technically we're not sure how we would come up with that.
It would be tougher with titles like Smash and Splatoon, where you're using a switch, like for Rocket League or Overwatch, because you can stream them as a spectator from a distance. I think it would be easier because you could just have this OBS set up in your green room that way. So you'd be able to be streaming from your green room if you wanted to.
And am I
But
answering
because
this?
the OBS is directly connected in to wherever I'm running my OBS from, that one might be a little bit harder to be across the school.
And then when you're talking about a direct feed cable, so
Now
yeah,
you're making us think as technical.
yeah. So you would want the camera, if you were to do something like what Jason and I have been talking about, where you have the computer in this other distant location. So say a student was wanting to stream from home, cast from home, right? They could do that if they had Rocket League or Overwatch on their computers. But you'd also want to have the camera, if you were to have them on camera, or the microphone, if you have them on mic, locally at their computer. A cable going long distance wouldn't really work, but you also could do other things like there's NDI that would work for that. Not well if your network is really locked down, but if they're on the same network, there's a program called NDI that can go between. I mean, we're getting really into the weeds, but like there are ways to do it. It might take lots of YouTube and Googling and research to figure it out, but you could do it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That answer, I think that one answered that one. Maggie's clearing that out. So, obviously we could go into a million different other scenarios, but really the goal of today was just to kind of get a behind the scenes look in terms of what are some basic equipment that it will take to get up and running. And so, again, it sounds like OBS is a pretty popular answer to do that. Then having some sort of capture card or video, switcher, that Black Magic box, potentially, obviously some splitters. Again, depending on if you're collecting it directly from a device versus if you're just streaming. Oh, I know. Can you talk about that real quick? So, like in this example, this was Smash. You don't have to take the time to set up a Rocket League match, but can you just show us where in OBS you would plug in like the spectator feed?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So I actually have Rocket League open right now.
We were semi-prepared. We were thinking
Hey, look at that.
Rocket League and Smash at the same time.
I mean, all right, so let me share my screen with. I actually have been, while Jason's been talking, I've been over here playing the tutorial because I don't ever have it on my computer. All right, so we're in OBS. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in OBS and I have added Rocket League. I'm going to start it from scratch though, so you guys can see what the adding of a game looks like. You have to have it open for it to know what to pull from. But if you go down here and say, add a source, add a game capture, and we'll call this Rocket League, if I can type. Then you want to select capture a specific window. And from there, you get all the windows that you have open, and you can select Rocket League. And that's really it. I like to, out of preference, select don't capture the cursor. So I just find it annoying when I have the cursor going around and people see that. But once I open Rocket League again, it should pop up. There it is.
Okay, so
So
you actually have the actual viewing window already open on yours. I was thinking you had to enter in like the spectator key or something like that to pull it up that
you
way.
have to have on the computer that you are running the stream from, you would have to have Rocket League open on that device.
Gotcha. Okay, nope, that.
I can show you what a game would look like if you wanted to see what that looks like. We can just do a game with bots.
Sure.
So we'll just spectate the game. I selected no buts. Defeats the purpose. So you'll see a game here. And when I come back over here, got my borrow going. Should be, oh, Bacchus Love. Could pop up here soon, but that's basically the gist of it, that it would look like that.
Okay, because I'm just thinking some people might, to get equipment might, it might be easier to start with a game in which they technically wouldn't need equipment because they can just stream, right? So like
Right.
obviously having Rocket League does not require the Black Magic box
Right.
or the HDMI capture card or any of that type of stuff. So I just wanted
It is a little bit easier to stream Rocket League or Overwatch, just because you're typically streaming from a PC, and most PCs will be able to handle it. Rocket League can pretty much run on a potato. So
yeah. And then you have something like Mario Kart, which would, 4 kids on 4 different switches would require 4 different feeds, and you cycling through the different feeds. So you're not just watching player 1 the entire cup race. So obviously you can make this as challenging or as simple as really you wanted, right?
really, you really can. I mean, we're constantly, we started off really basic, just trying to get the game out there. And ever since then, we've been trying to just up it a little bit because we're just really interested in it and we're having fun. So I would say just getting it out there is the coolest part.
And then finally, so if you do have 2, because we pretended like we were setting up 2 streams going live at the same time. Is that technically like 2 different identical OBS windows that would be open at that point? Or are you switching within this one screen back and forth? Or do you see both screens at the same time? How would that work?
Okay, so that right there, you might be able to stream 2 different things simultaneously. I have not tried that. But we have been saying you have to have a different computer for every stream that you want to do.
Okay, so that's essentially, so you can run it from different computers and running.
Yep. So if you look at in our lab, if we were to simulate it, I've got Jason usually running Splatoon while I'm running Overwatch or Street Fighter or whatever. So we're streaming different games.
That makes sense, because otherwise I think that just seems like it would be a lot for one person to attempt to do from one interface anyway. So
it is a lot.
That makes sense.
And that's why we do recommend like one adult per stream. It's probably your best recommended.
And definitely encouraging the kids to getting more kids wanting to do the stream aspect of it. Talking to Coach Leone, I know that he's really big on trying to make it like a whole program thing. Like, you may not be on one of his teams at Oakland, but they have a whole team of people that run computers, run their captures, run their NDI. Like, you're part of the production. Jason, that's over at MSU now, that does their production there. Like, I know that he has like a whole team of kids that once you get to that college level, there's so much more than just playing any of the games too. So
just preparing them from that,
as much of this stuff, like if we can make it as easy to do button pushing, then it gets their door open to getting them interested. Like I said, how many kids we've had looking over my shoulder as I'm picking all the stuff through the Ultimate Stream tool or whatever graphics we make or the videos or intros that Coach Cam gets together, they're like, oh, that's really cool. And then we're like, yeah, we did it here. Yep. And that kind of brings them in a bit to that too. So then you don't need an adult. You get to stand behind the kids as you're letting them just run everything too. So
absolutely,
we're not quite to that point yet. So it's the 2 of us, but we'll get there.
Yeah,
everybody
for sure. Awesome. Well, hey, we're about at an hour here. So like I said, I didn't want to get too far in the weeds and start confusing people, but I really appreciate Coach Cameron, Coach Jason, your time showing this. I learned a ton. This was awesome. Because I want to try and start doing some more of this as well. So this was helpful to me, and hopefully people who are watching this, whether it was live or on recording, thought this was helpful. And I will probably, when we send this out in some sort of follow-up email, I'll include your both your emails, if that's okay, guys, and maybe a link to your YouTube channel so they can check it out. And if there's any other resources you can send me that you want me to include in that, whether it's links to equipment, kind of like we had on here, or other things, we'll put that all together, and hopefully we can start seeing some more matches. I love seeing schedules out there on social media. I love seeing matches being shared out. I think, for family and friends to be able to see this, because we're, like I said, we're not in the middle of a football field doing this, right? Or a basketball court or a volleyball court. We're off in a room in a corner of the school somewhere. So I think it's really important to be able to show the skills that our kids have, which is exciting. So really appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody else who was on the webinar today. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. And like I said, hopefully everyone will start being able to dabble with streaming some matches yet this fall season. So thank you guys for your time. We're going to do this again next Monday at 4:00, talking about our new Coachify partnership that we have for some people who are looking to kind of get a little more guidance and feedback that they can provide their players with video reviews and some other software that's available to monitor player performance and things like that. So we're going to be talking to the Coachify folks next Monday at 4:00, so people can register for that webinar. Otherwise, everybody else, have a great rest of their Monday and good luck with your matches.